concerned. I thought you wouldn't make it.
No, I did it.
Hello. How are you? Please come in.
Well, first of all, welcome. Welcome to Athens, dear Lydia, dear Orpheas, dear Vasilis. Let me congratulate Oned and the Martin Center for organizing this important event. Let me thank the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, Marian Wendt, for your invaluable contribution. And thank you all for being here. And I understand you've had interesting discussions so far on numerous topics of great importance. And I thought that, I'll just spend, a few minutes sharing some thoughts with you regarding, the important challenges that your generation is facing and how you can actually help us overcome those. And as I was coming over here, I was thinking how different the world was when I was graduating from college in 1990. It does seem, a long time ago. But at the time, I remember during my senior year at university, switching on the television, watching the fall of the Berlin War, the collapse of communism, the belief that history had come to an end, that a bright new future was opening up ahead of us. And there was, in our generation, a general sense of optimism that we could achieve anything we wanted to, and that basically the world was moving in the right direction, and we would be part of that journey. And we're now in 2024, and the world does seem much more complicated than it was back when I was graduating from college. And I think that the basic challenge that we have as leaders, but that you also have as a new generation of leaders, is to try to make sense of this complicated reality, not lose our sense of optimism, and charter a clear path forward through all the confusing elements that make this reality so difficult and so complex to comprehend. And this is certainly also what we have tried to do in Greece since we took over in July 2019. We've been in power now for close to 6 years. As you know, we won our re-election last year with a very, very strong public mandate to continue down the path of reforms. And we sort of went against the trend of incumbent governments facing great difficulties when they were faced with an election challenge. And why did we do this? Why have we been successful where others have failed to do so? I think first and foremost because we have been consistent in delivering upon our promises. One of the fundamental problems that we feel we have, especially when we connect with the younger generation, is the sense that we are losing our relationship of trust with the younger people, that they feel that their future is going to be worse than the future of their parents. And we have focused first and foremost on being very consistent and delivering upon our promises, creating jobs, which was my #1 priority, especially jobs for young people. We've created more than 500,000 jobs since we came into power. Unemployment was at 17.5%. It's dipped under 10%. We've brought back many Greeks, 300,000 Greeks back from abroad. These are young people who left during the years of the crisis. We brought in significant foreign direct investment. And at the same time, we succeeded in doing that while keeping our basic public finances in order, because it is very easy and very tempting sometimes to spend beyond our means. And then, of course, you will end up at some point paying the price, which is exactly what is happening in many other European countries. So being able to create growth, create new jobs, make sure that wages rise in accordance with the growth that you generate, while at the same time being fiscally disciplined, has not proven to be an easy exercise. But we've been able to solve this equation, and that is why I think we are still by far the dominant political force in Greece. But of course, we're faced with numerous challenges, which I'm sure you've had an opportunity to discuss, challenges which are both domestic, they're both Greek, but they're also at the same time European. For those of you who haven't done so, I would strongly urge you to read the executive summary of the Draghi report, because it is a document which clearly describes the challenges that our continent is facing. And Draghi is also offering some very concrete solutions on how we can actually address these challenges. And I do believe that the issues which are raised in the Draghi report will be the defining agenda of the next term of the European Commission. And whether we are successful in addressing these challenges will, to a great extent, define how we will shape the future of Europe for your generation. And I do believe this. We are at an existential point in our European history where we need to take some very bold decisions about how we move into the future. If you just look at, for example, the divergence in competitiveness between the United States on the one hand and Europe on the other, the data is not very flattering for our continent. If you just look at the number of tech companies that are created in Europe and that actually stay in Europe, again, the numbers are not very encouraging. We need to bridge that productivity gap, and we need to invest much more in technology in Europe and be able to do it at the European level. So boring topics such as capital markets union, which may seem sort of completely irrelevant to most people, actually do make a big difference in whether Europe will actually create an ecosystem of young tech companies that will be able to grow in Europe and access a single European market. And these are issues I deeply, deeply care about, because I spent my professional career before entering politics in venture capital, and I've worked a lot with young tech companies. And what I see now when I talk to our brilliant European tech entrepreneurs is that at the first opportunity they want to move to the US, or that they want to be bought out by by an American company, or if they are very successful, they actually want to list in the US on NASDAQ rather than seeking a listing in Europe. And this is something that we need to change if we want to bridge that technological divide. If you look at the challenges related to security and defense, it is, especially in light of what has happened with the re-election of Donald Trump in the United States, it is very true that Europe for many decades has been complacent when it comes to taking care of its own security, and that we had essentially outsourced our security provision to the United States. And it was convenient for many European governments to underspend on defense because they felt comfortable under the NATO umbrella. Greece was never in that category because we always had to deal with our own particular challenges when it comes to addressing the Turkish threat. And now we realize that we can no longer do that. We need to spend at minimum 2% on defense and create a European defense universe, because it is in our interest to do so, and we need to take responsibility for protecting ourselves, and we shouldn't expect everything from the United States. When you look at issues related to climate and climate change, we are leaders when it comes to aggressive mitigation policies. But can we afford to make the green transition work and at the same time destroy what has been left of the European industrial competitiveness? I believe not. We have a responsibility towards contributing in the global effort to reduce emissions, but we also have a responsibility to make sure that our businesses remain competitive, that we don't place too much burden on our farmers, and that we don't force, for example, consumers to change their cars and to purchase more expensive electric cars when they cannot afford to do that. So the pace of the green transition is going to be absolutely critical, and getting the balance right is going to be an important challenge for the next 5 years. We shouldn't forget the challenge of adaptation. We talk a lot about mitigation and about how we will bring about net zero in 2050, but we don't talk enough about adaptation and dealing with a climate reality that is already with us. You saw the horrible scenes from Spain. We had similar floods in Greece last year. So making sure that we protect our societies, especially in the Mediterranean, from the ravages of a climate crisis that is already with us, is going to become a very, very important, is already a very important priority for the next 5 years. How do we position ourselves vis-à-vis artificial intelligence? What is the right balance between innovation on the one hand and regulation on the other? What is the role that Europe, that we Europeans can play in this global landscape? So these are just, a few of the challenges that we will be facing as we move into the next European cycle. And I think it is very important that we engage, in fruitful debates with the next generation, with you, with the youth party of our political family, because at the end of the day, the policies that we implement today hopefully will benefit your generation. And we know what it means in Greece to have a powerful youth organization. And we know how this youth organization has been the fertile ground out of which, many ideas which we implement now have actually emerged. Let me just give you one example. We finally managed in Greece to pass a legislation that allows for the establishment of non-profit private universities. This idea was first presented by ONED back in 1987. Think about it. It took us, decades to get to that point. It should have happened much earlier, but it did. So if we are not engaged in an active dialogue with your generation to understand your real concerns, your issues, I don't think we will be able to find the necessary policy solutions to address exactly the challenges of the next generation in a world that, as I told you at the beginning, is becoming so much more complicated. But complexity is not a reason to lose faith in the ability of politics to actually make a difference. And let me conclude with this point, because I firmly believe in the need for more civic engagement and more participation by the young generation in what we would say in Greece, the affairs of the polis, of the city. It is very easy, if you are young and qualified these days, to pursue a career in the private sector and to sort of turn your back to politics by simply acknowledging that the world is simply too complex and that we can actually not make a difference. If your generation were to assume that mentality, we would fundamentally weaken the democratic process. Politics is about participating. It is about maintaining the belief that we can actually make a change and that ideas are powerful, and that there is an inherent beauty in communicating the ideas that we believe in and trying to convince other people about our viewpoint, always in a civilized manner while respecting the opposite view. It seems so difficult to do that in the polarized era of social media, but these are the challenges that your generations will need to address. And of course, it is our job, the older generation, to offer the younger generation and the younger political leaders that emerge from our youth organizations opportunities to participate in politics at the highest level. Just look at the example of Pavlos Marinakis, who's president of the youth organization, and he's now deputy minister and spokesperson for the government. So it's our job and my job, I feel, to constantly give opportunities to young people to show that they can actually deliver and shine in what they are doing. So let me again wish you a productive continuation of your discussions. I presume you're staying in Athens for the weekend. I would certainly hope that you do so and enjoy the city. The city has changed a lot. I think you will pick up the vibes of a country that is moving in the right direction. The weather is going to be nice. It's much more comfortable temperatures than Northern Europe. Have fun, have good discussions, and never forget that you can actually make a change. Thank you very much.